I wouldn't imagine you've watched the videos, the interviews that I've done already, so you've got no idea what this is about.
I have absolutely no clue. I like to be surprised.
No
I
one.
actually, no, I'm sorry. I actually watched, I think like 15 seconds. They were the best 15 seconds of my life.
Okay, good. Right, so the tone of this is I'm interested, I'm doing my, the series, and I'm kind of interested to kind of break through. I want to support people to be successful in their marketing. So the tone of things has been what kind of prevents people from being successful. So the first interview was with Ed. It was brilliant. He's been working in marketing agencies since the 70s. He's an absolute star. You should go and watch that. You might learn something. I spoke to Jim, who's been working in digital marketing since 1992. And then I spoke to Jim, and Jim is a business owner, has been a business owner for the last 20 years. So as I understand your experience of marketing, am I right in saying you did a marketing degree?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so that's where your experience starts.
But that's count as shit. Am I allowed to say shit? Yeah, that's count as shit.
Well, probably if you're not allowed to say it 3 times, that would be my recommendation.
No, because the reason why I'm saying that it counts as shit, because basically when I studied marketing and because now I'm doing digital marketing.
Yeah, let's wait. So
when
about 5 years ago, you were running a marketing agency and you had marketing clients and you were doing kind of web development and app development and those kinds of things. I don't really understand what that agency was. Now, as I understand it, you are the chief marketing officer for which business?
It's a car accessories company.
Okay, cool. In Malaysia?
In Malaysia, Singapore, in Indonesia.
Okay, cool. Right. So then if I understand your experience, you did a marketing degree, you've run an agency, and now you are the chief marketing officer for a business managing a marketing team. Yeah,
and probably in between I was having also a startup, but that's another story for another time.
That's another story for another time. Okay, good. So what interests me about you is there's 2 things that interest me about you and your marketing experience. The first is that you did the academic thing, and then you went into business. So I'm interested to know how useful that was. You've already given the game away a little bit probably, but I'm going to talk about that. The second thing is then that you were a marketing agency and now you are essentially a client or an internal marketer. So I'm interested in kind of those 2 aspects. Is there anything, before I start firing questions at you, that you absolutely want the world to know about marketing? Or shall I just fire the questions?
Yeah, I'll just fire the questions, and I'm sure that the discussion is going to kind of like go in one direction or another.
Okay, good. So what I'm interested in, let's get this academic thing out of the way. So you studied marketing in Romania.
Yeah, that's correct.
That's correct. And what effect has that had on your career?
Every time that I'm actually speaking with someone and they're asking me about studies, is that basically I finished the university in 2008. And I think I had only 1 course on digital marketing. And that was not even digital marketing. There was one professor of mine that was starting a blog and who was starting to tell us about, like blogging and content writing online. And I didn't understand anything because how advanced it was digital marketing back then, right? So the only thing that I can say that my studies actually helped me in my career is probably to form a business mentality and mindset.
Yeah.
But that was probably the only thing, because everything that I learned regarding marketing and digital marketing, it was probably self-taught, watching online courses, learning by doing, speaking with people, going to conferences, talking with smart people like you, Martin. Like I basically kind of like a sponge, not necessarily because of my university. I mean, I'm actually saying that if you want to be in this field, it's not mandatory to have a degree. It's good to have one, because probably if you want to hire, people are going to look on your CV, and we're going to say, okay, this guy did a bachelor or a master, but I wouldn't say that it's mandatory. That's purely my opinion.
Okay, I wouldn't say it's not mandatory. I would say not even required. Not even.
Perfect.
My degree was in politics, because I started my degree in the 90s, so they called it government. And I did government and law, and then as soon as the options arrived, I veered towards philosophy, because I'm interested in ideas, I'm interested in how people are motivated, I'm interested in those kinds of things. And I would say, not because I have experience of both, but because somebody came to me at the end of one of my marketing strategy courses, which is a total of 3.5 hours long, and they had an MBA in marketing, and they said, I've learned more in this 3.5 hours than I did in the however many years it takes to do an MBA in marketing. So what my feeling is, but I don't know this to be true, is that you're much better off having an understanding of kind of people's motivations and their drivers than you are necessarily knowing about having a marketing degree. That's what I would say. But I don't know.
I will complete. I couldn't agree more. I mean, realistically speaking, I've been to some conferences and events regarding marketing, and it was blown away, and probably I learned more than in my entire studies. But once again, I'm not trying to bash here anyone that is basically going to study marketing or any kind of degree. I'm just saying that, Martin, I just lost you. It's black screen.
Okay. Bear with us. You keep speaking. I'm going to switch cameras. Oh, no, it's back now.
Okay. No, now it's back. Yeah. So nice setup, by the way.
Thanks. No, it's gone.
Now it's again black screen. Yeah. So nevertheless, once again, as I was saying, I don't want to bash anyone that has a marketing degree or is doing anything related to study. But that's purely my experience and what I'm feeling, and probably we're in the same mindset.
Okay, yeah, and that is my experience. Not that I have experience of the academic. I mean, I do have experience of academic. I studied a degree in, they called it government. I don't think it prepared me in any way, shape or form for government. You know, I was never going to be in government. I don't know. I know Gary Vaynerchuk and Seth, those people I don't necessarily agree with, but they are all kind of on this mission saying, don't waste your time on the academic, go out and get the experience, and that's much better for you. Now, this comes back to something that I'm also interested to talk to you about, which is...
I would love to see you, by the way.
I'm working on that, man, as I try and sound intelligent while I'm with you.
Ah, okay, good.
So, you're seeing me now?
Awesome.
Good. So that comes back to something that I think, like, if you are... I think this camera zoomed in a bit more. Let me go back. So I think if you understand people's motivations and stuff, and I came from sales, so I was literally dealing with people and seeing and hearing their motivations. So that's, I think, more useful than any academic stuff. I think the other issue that academics are going to have now, I think the big issue with academics is that they've really applied it. So if you've been in an academic environment for the last 25 years, what do you really know about landing a message, hitting a target, generating some profit, paying salary? Do you know what I mean? So they're like, practically, they don't have that experience. But the other issue now is that it's kind of evolving so fast. Like when I started in marketing, I would say to people, and they would say to me, this is common sense, and it is absolutely common sense. But now it's not just common sense, because now you've got to understand where all the buttons are and how things work and how, I don't know, a Facebook pixel works, or how, do you know what I mean? It's got so much more technical as beyond sense. And I don't mind telling you, and when I had this conversation with Jem, he was saying also, or with Jim rather, not Jem, sorry, not Jem. Jem is the digital marketing lecturer. But with Jim, it's like you set something up, you get it running, and then you don't do anything with it because it's changed by the time you go back. So how do you feel about that?
I feel in the principle that is driving my entire career, which is called lifelong learning. I'm spending literally half an hour every single day, and I'm reading like blogs and watching YouTube videos of people that are like smarter than me for the same principle, because this field of marketing, and there are many others that are constantly evolving. And at the moment that you're not going to stay up the trend, you're going to be obsolete. That's my personal opinion. And I believe that you really need to be, once again, like a sponge. And I'm going to use the same expression every time that we're talking about this field, because you need to understand how technology is working and evolving. And there is a new social network coming in. I mean, like, for example, TikTok, right? Let's talk about TikTok and TikTok marketing. For example, in the company that I'm working at the moment, something that I'm saying to them all the time: let's try to experiment, let's try to do A/B testing. Let's not think about the ROI. Let's not think about the money coming in. Let's try it and understand how the customers are actually seeing our message and where are they seeing the message. And we started to do TikTok marketing, like, I don't remember, like 6 months ago. And the things that we are doing here in Malaysia and Singapore and Indonesia, nobody is doing it. And I'm really proud to say that, because I'm constantly bringing new technology that is taking a little bit of time for the others to, to try. And I think that if you want to be successful in your company, in your career, and it's always good to try new things, and you need to learn to fail. I mean, like, failing is part of the game. If you're not going to fail and it's not going to work, for example, my manager is coming to me and is like, hey, how is this working? And I'm like, I really don't know. Let's give it a shot. And that's something that it's truly powerful. To learn, to continue to experiment.
Okay, so that's interesting, because you're in the car parts and accessories kind of business. Is that right? That's
yeah. So primarily we are doing car mats. Yeah. And we have a range also of car accessories.
Okay, so this is a consumer offering. You're not selling this to other businesses?
Both. But primary is like consumer.
Okay, so you have a consumer market who are interested in car accessories. So it's fair to assume that they are going to be picking up these new social medias, these new technologies like TikTok, for example.
Yes and no, because basically every time that you really need to think about the buyer persona. I mean, like, something that I'm saying to my team is always like, put yourself in the shoes of the customers, where exactly they're standing, who is that person, how old he is, what's the tone of voice, what they want to hear, what they want to see, where are they spending their time. At the moment that you're going to understand all of, you're creating the profile of the customer, where you understand where to tackle. But something that we're definitely doing, and it sounds like a really boring product, and it's something that it really is, right? But what we try to bring is to create like a sexy marketing. And basically we created like I like to call it like a 360-degree marketing solution, where we basically, once the potential lead is basically in our system, wherever we're talking about email or Facebook or website and Pixel and Instagram, we basically bomb him until he's going to buy, and we're basically tracking him all the way until the entire funnel.
Okay, so are the metrics available already for TikTok? If I've never done any marketing on TikTok, but if you want to market on TikTok,
the metrics are available. Yeah, the metrics are available. We started it, just to end this conversation, or not to end, but just to give you an answer regarding TikTok. We basically tried at the moment. Each advertiser that wants to advertise on TikTok is receiving a $300 USD credit to try it out. Yes, they have a TikTok pixel similar to the Facebook pixel. Yes, you can install it on your Facebook. The platform, the business manager TikTok platform, is really in a, let's say, beginning stage compared with the complexity of Facebook or Google, for example. But yes, you have metrics for view, for I don't know, for conversions, if we're talking about the e-commerce website. But once again, it's coming back for us. TikTok was not the medium, and we realized quite soon, because realistically speaking, for example, when you're doing ads on TikTok, is really easy to swipe them out, right, or up or down, depending. So if you're not creating engaging content, and if you're not a business in like, I don't know, like a Horeca business or travel, I don't think that TikTok, purely for my opinion, TikTok is not for you.
And you were able to establish that really quickly within the $300 credit they gave you to add?
No, we actually invested a little bit more. And we gave it a couple of shots, and we invested more than $300, and we created some A/B testing, and we were purely talking from a perspective of landing page views. But when we seen that also we got like a lot of views, but no conversions in, even if, for example, we are talking about like the proportions of view to landing page to actual conversions, successful buy, it was insignificant, then we decided to stop it.
Right.
I like to call it pivoting, man. In the end of the day is pivoting, right? You're trying to pivot a couple of ideas, so you're going to see whatever is working. Principle of lean startup. Try 3 things, see the one that is successful, then apply it on a larger scale.
Yeah, so I'm with you, and I think this is kind of what you have to do if you start on a new venture, or if you're marketing for someone, is you have to, what do you have to do? You have to test everything, because until
of course
you don't know. So, you know, you can have an indication if you've dealt with lots of B2B clients, for example, that, you know, Google is going to work, LinkedIn is going to work, email is going to work. You know, those are going to be the 3 staples in a B2B kind of environment. But then you should test Facebook to see if you can make it work. Or you should test Instagram, we should test Twitter, or you should test TikTok or Snapchat or whatever the latest thing is. But it's kind of a suck and see operation, isn't it? So, yes.
I just wanted to say that to give you an example of testing and to go on your flow of idea regarding testing. For example, we have like a B2B side of the business where we're selling actually to agents and partners and all of this car dealerships. And I said, let's do Facebook leads. And they were like, it's not going to work. And I was going to, how you're going to know that is not going to work if you don't try it? And actually at the moment, Facebook lead is primarily the channel that we generate leads for this B2B business.
Yeah, and there's no reason why that shouldn't happen, because in the day when I was talking to people about social media, I was saying every man and their dog is on Facebook. And I was saying this from like...
I need to remember this.
And then when it got to 2010, people started putting their hands up and saying, yeah, my dog is on Facebook. And the targeting behind Facebook is so good. You can target people by their business style, by their designation, by, you know, all of those things. So there's no reason why Facebook can't work as a B2B sales platform. There's no reason why LinkedIn can't work as a B2B platform, but they're not necessarily going to be obviously and immediately as effective as each other. So that's interesting. I'm interested in this half an hour, 2 hours that you spend every day on your continuous education. How much did you say it was? An hour?
Like anything between, I mean, like I don't have an exact number, but anything between 30 and 1 hour every day before I start work. Right. I'm basically during my morning coffee and some probably after I finish work, I'm spending a little bit of time also reading.
So this is your time?
I wouldn't say that is necessarily my time. It's also that everything that I'm learning in the end of the day, I'm going to apply it at my work, right? So I consider it probably part of my job also, right? Of course, primarily I'm going to be the main beneficial, but whatever new things I'm learning in marketing, I'm going to apply it in my work.
Okay, so let's say it's half an hour. So that's half an hour a day. That's 2.5 hours a week. It's 10 hours a month. It's 120 hours a year, which is how many work days is that? That's 15 work days a year that you are investing in your marketing skills. That to me,
probably lost me.
Sorry?
You probably lost me on the numbers, but I give you the, probably.
So half an hour a day is 2.5 hours a week. There's 5 days a week. There's 4 weeks in a month. So that's 10 hours. There's 52 weeks in the year, so that's 120, there's 12 months in a year, so that's 120 hours. That to me sounds like an eminently sensible thing to be doing. But
common sense.
how many days? That's 15 work days a year out of 250 work days a year. So less than 10% of your time, clearly less than 10% of your time, you're investing in that.
Yeah.
When you do that work, are you researching the principles of marketing? Are you focused on the evolving technology of marketing? Or are you looking for new marketing opportunities?
I would say probably all of them combined. I'm searching, for example, to give you where exactly I'm searching for the information. I'm a part of like different various Facebook groups, like Facebook marketers on Facebook, different Facebook groups. I'm searching for people like, I don't know, like I'm looking at Neil Patel. I'm subscribed to different websites that are sending me emails. I'm actually reading all of these emails that are, hey, this is a new technology, or this is how you can improve the email marketing, or this is how can you improve your Facebook ads, or this is how can you improve your SEO. I'm looking on videos. So I'm not necessarily searching for, to answer your question, I'm not necessarily searching for a specific topic. Whatever it comes, it comes. Of course, sometimes when for example, I don't know how to solve a problem, the first place that I'm going and researching is, of course, Google how to, etc., etc. And there is kind of like the rabbit hole that I'm diving, and the more you know, the more you find out, the less you know, right? That's usually how it happens.
Right. So I'm just playing devil's advocate here.
Yeah.
A traditional business owner, capitalist, crack the whip type boss, like maybe these don't exist anymore, I don't know, but I'm pretty sure they do.
They do.
They do, okay. So they would say if I were to say to them, yeah, I'm spending 15 days a year, on education stuff. I hear that you're doing it in your own time. That's absolutely fine. Sounds like a sound investment. But they would say, I'm not paying for someone who's learning. I'm paying for someone who knows what they're doing. So now get on with the job. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. And I'm going to say, coming back to where we started the topic, is that technology is evolving. How can I be in top of the trend, and how can I come up with new things if I'm not going to research and if I'm not going to understand what are the new trends? Yeah. And in the end, like this mentality of this guy, I hired this guy that basically knows everything. I really believe that is amount of bullshit. Am I allowed to say bullshit? Probably I'm allowed. So,
3 times, man,
and I'm, sorry?
Say it 3 times, just in case you're not.
Yeah, so, because basically, I'm really fascinated about people that they're really good on their specific topic, like this guy is absolutely brilliant on Facebook ads, or this guy is brilliant on SEO. I'm a little bit different because I have a little bit of knowledge from everything, from the perspective that I wanted to build my career from. That is why it's probably coming from the agency background, because I needed to understand all of this technology, how they're working together.
Yes. This interests me. This interests me a lot, because I think, in marketing, we tell people that they're supposed to niche, and they're supposed to be specialist, and they're supposed to be all of these things. But my specialization historically has been integrated marketing. Like, how actually do we apply the principles of all these things to all of these different things? So how do we apply the principles of marketing to Facebook, to TikTok, to LinkedIn, to YouTube, to whatever it is? And I think that's a valid position, really valid, because I think if you're just selling Facebook ads, then that has to be the solution to any problem that somebody comes to you with. Like, I'm not making enough sales. Okay, you need to do Facebook ads. Do you know what I'm saying? Whereas somebody who can look overall and say, actually, maybe the issue is not the Facebook ads. Maybe it's not all the marketing you're doing currently. Maybe the message is wrong. Maybe the targeting is wrong. Maybe the timing is wrong, or maybe the product is wrong, or maybe the price is wrong, or there might be something on a marketing level that's completely wrong before you take it to market at all. So just because you're marketing doesn't mean that this one tool, Facebook ads, will be. So I think that's maybe why you are suited to this role, because like you say, being an agency owner, you have to have a grasp of all of it. But I think the issue with that is that it's becoming harder and harder to do that because the technology is becoming more and more kind of granular. Like it's becoming more and more detailed. There's more and more opportunity.
Exactly. That is why I'm saying that probably there is no right and wrong answer to regarding, okay, do I want to become niche, or I want to take it from a, let's call it helicopter point of view, that I know a little bit of everything.
Yes.
But something that I've been saying, if, for example, in my team, in the company that I'm working at the moment, and in general in the entire career, I believe that you really need to be surrounded by people that are smarter than you, right? Yeah. So if I'm a business manager and I'm a business owner, I like to be surrounded by people that are better than me in Facebook ads, in Google ads, in all of these niches. And basically you and me are basically the ones that are kind of like knows and how to direct in the right way, and put them to work into the right scope of the business, but also make them work together. Because the problem with the niche people are basically they know only their slice of the pie, right? And that's something that, once again, is not right or wrong answer.
No, I think it's right or wrong. I think that there has to be somebody who is capable of directing things, exactly as you say, deciding how much resource needs to go into each of these, and kicking those people's asses and making sure that they are actually delivering on the full opportunity. So that makes sense. Okay then, so does this lead me in? Is this the best time? So to kind of finish the academic debate, what chance, honestly, what chance does any academic institution have of developing a course that is going to be... So I had this experience. I was a lecturer with the Digital Marketing Institute. Immediately you put a curriculum together, immediately...
That's the problem.
You get it approved, immediately you get it certified, immediately you get it to the market, it's done. Because, you know, it's old. Because the issue is that somebody at Google might decide that they're going to change the way something works, and it's changed universally. When I used to run these courses, I would open up my computer in front of the group and say, let's have a look at how this works. And then I would, not very often, but certainly I've done it on Facebook, on YouTube, on all of these things where it's like, oh, I'm sorry guys, I don't know how this works anymore because it didn't look like this yesterday when I was prepping for this conversation. You know, so that's the trouble. So academic institutions don't stand a chance, and I don't think they were ever particularly good. So I think actually what you should do is do some digital marketing. If you've got a personal interest, build a website and market it, you know, and do that. And I'd always be much more impressed if I was interviewing somebody and I said, what do you know about marketing? And they said, well, here's my website, here's the X number of thousand followers, here's the number of conversions, here's the something else, something else, something else. This is what I did on Facebook, this is what I did on Twitter. That would always be much more impressive to me than somebody coming and saying, actually, I've been in university for the last 3 years.
In the end of the day, Martin, is out of my place to say which one is the right one. I'm still believing that, for example, someone needs to have a certain degree, because of the moment that what you're trying to say, we're going a little bit philosophical here, but what you're trying to do here, you want to change an entire system, and the system is basically the one that is saying, in order to get a job, one of the requirements, okay, you know, like how a job description is looking, this is the things that you need to do. This is basically the education that you need. And 99% of the time is basically you need to have a bachelor or you need to have a master. It's a fundamentally something wrong with the system, because an HR person is going to be basically, okay, does this person knows how to do, I don't know, Facebook ads? Yes. Does he has one of the requirements basically to have a bachelor degree in marketing? No. Bam, next CV. And that's probably wrong because you didn't give a chance to that person, but we are changing a system. You want to change a system. I still believe that a person should study marketing or finance or I don't know, any other scope in regards of this economical, purely from a perspective of having a degree, but find that a degree that it's at least you find a connection with that subject.
Yeah, and I think I'm just interested to talk to you about it because you did the academic and then you've been in the world, and the first thing you told us is that that was a piece of shit. So that's why I was interested to talk to you. But I think the situation is changing because the nature of work is changing. Because like when I was 15, I went to see the careers counselor at my school, and they're like, "What do you want to do?" And I'd always been involved in drama, and I had auditioned at one time for the BBC thing to play Oliver Twist, and I didn't get it because they said my face was too fat. So
impossible.
This was my experience, and I'm like, I want to work in TV, and they're like, okay, well, there's a TV factory in the industrial estate, so maybe you should go there, and maybe you can work your way up into TV from there. Now, of course, anyone who wants to can work in TV because TV is now YouTube. And when I see people like successful YouTube people or video content producers, they're not saying send us your CV, demonstrate that you went to university. They're saying send us a clip, show us your creativity, do something interesting, because actually that's the currency. So if you want to go into marketing proper and you want to sit in a corporation, then that's, having that might be useful. But actually, I don't know the answer. I don't particularly care either. But
there are two categories of people that are basically people that they want to work for themselves, and there are people that they want to work for someone, right? I basically did both of them, and I did work for someone, started the agency, work for someone, started the agency, doing entrepreneurship. Now I'm working for someone, right?
Yeah.
Basically, if you want to work for yourself, nobody gives a crap about if you have a study or not. I mean, like, go on Google and search Upwork, freelance.com. I mean, like, all of these places, there are opportunities nowadays with the technology and the internet and how fast everything is moving because of this COVID situation, and companies are realizing that, hey, maybe I don't have the budget and I need to hire a freelancer, right? Because I need him for a specific project only. Right, so there are opportunities that are not required academical study. That's for sure.
Yeah. Okay, so we're getting off there. I basically think the whole academic thing is more or less defunct. I think any employer who is employing on the basis of somebody having a degree or not is making a mistake, because I would rather speak to somebody with 3 years practical experience than I would if they've got that experience freelancing, doing their own thing, whatever it is. I'd much rather employ somebody who's actually done it for the last 3 years rather than what I think about academic is you read and talk about it. That's what I think.
Yeah.
Okay, good. But this brings me to the other thing that I want to talk to you about, which is kind of this resource. So we're talking about the amount of time that you have to spend in your own educational development. When you were an agency, how many people what was your resource? How many people did you make available to your clients?
It's a hard number to say, because mostly I was working with contractors, right? Yeah. So
So the question I'm asking is, how many in total contractors did you have available to your clients?
Anything between 6 and 10 people.
6 and 10 people. And how many, and you weren't engaging those people full time, and how many clients would you have on average?
Sorry, once again?
How many clients would you have on average? If I phoned you up any time in the time that you were running your business set, how many clients have you got? How many would that number be?
On average, anything between 4 and 5.
Okay, so somewhere between 4 and 5. So at best, you've got, if you were using those people full time, you've got 2 resources for each of those clients. How many resources do you manage now in your business?
At the moment, I'm managing around 11 people.
Okay, and these are 11 people who are
full-time, yeah.
Full-time people committed to one business, 2 aspects of the same business?
Yeah, same business. I mean, like I'm talking about designers and marketing and IT and other people from other sectors of the business.
Yes, yes. But you're essentially marketing one business, or there's two
Yep.
arms of business. Are you working on both?
I'm working on both. I'm working also on B2C and B2B.
Right. So good. So what I'm interested to know is, how on earth did you manage 5 clients with 10 part-time employees, where now you are managing 2 clients essentially with 11 full-time employees? How does that work?
Because it's a really simple answer, because basically the complexity of what we are doing at the moment, it's bigger compared with what I was doing in the agency. I mean, like now I'm trying and experimenting new things, and of course also when the budget is bigger, you have more freedom to do more of to implement more of your own projects and to experiment new technologies and try new campaigns. So that's probably why I need more people. And believe me that even now I have like limited resources, because we are 3 countries. It's a much bigger company from clients that I used to have now before, sorry. So it's a really simple answer.
It's a really simple answer, and it's probably the right answer, so that's fine. But this seems to me to be the model. And maybe it is just about the size of the company, although I've also worked with big companies. I've never really offered any of my clients, I think the most time a client might have ever bought from me might be 10 days a month. So the most they would have got is a resource for half a month. So they've got half a resource essentially. Typically, when I work with clients, it's 3 or 4 days a month. And I've been successful for clients. Obviously, there's been instances where I haven't been successful necessarily. But it just kind of, but what I think is that it's a full-time job, at least for somebody, irrespective of the, like, there's this stat that typically companies their cost of customer acquisition is 30% of their turnover. So what that means is that if you're employing 3 people, one of those people should be a sales and marketing person. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's so rarely the case. And I don't know what the answer is either. It's just that it occurred to me, I'm speaking to Ionut, he's gone from this situation where he had 10 resources part-time and was managing 5 clients, to a situation where he's got 2 clients essentially, and he's managing now 11 people. And that just kind of frazzled my mind a little bit.
I think the answer it's a combination. Once again, it's a combination between the complexity of the job, from the complexity, like the size of the budget, from the size of the company, from the vision that you have. The problem with agency, when you're, at least that was my experience working with agency, is that often I was, okay, here is, I don't know, like $5,000 or $10,000 or $100 or whatever is that budget that they have, and they expect to have like millions in return, right? Yeah. Probably, of course, I'm exaggerating a little bit, but that's the general impression, you know, like you're paying the agency and you want to have like amazing results overnight. At least that was my experience, right? And it's a little bit of a rat race from a perspective that you're searching for clients and you're not working. And when you're working, you're not searching for clients. And I remember that we had this discussion. At the moment, working for the company is a little bit different, because I'm probably in a lucky perspective from having a management that is understanding that things need time, and ideas comes to action, and actions coming to a plan, and the plan falls into actually execution. It takes time, and the results are going to come at the moment that you see this time frame that is a little bit more diluted compared with when I was working for the agency.
And I think you are lucky in that respect, because I think that comes down to the size of the business. Like, a small business owner rarely has anything to invest. So by the time they're investing, they want to see ridiculous returns. They want it to happen immediately. they need to happen immediately, maybe. Yeah, so that's, and if you can convince, my experience is 100% of the time, if you can convince the customer of the amount of time it's going to take, and they give you that amount of time, then you can typically generate enough of a result to keep them motivated. You know,
but how many times is actually it's happening? That's the question.
About this as well. I was thinking about like my success rates. And my business was a little bit more complicated. I invoiced 1,000 different businesses in the 9 years that I was running the Effective Marketing Company proper. A lot of those would have been for like training gigs or speaking gigs or those kinds of things. But probably 30% of those, around 300, were clients who came to engage us to do some marketing for them. I think the times that I was spectacularly successful is probably about 5 out of those 300.
I think it's a good number.
I think that successful, i.e. doing a good job, was maybe 40 out of 300 or maybe 30 out of 300. So that means that we probably didn't fail. We might have done a mediocre job for another 100 customers and then failed miserably with another 150. But there's more aspects to that, like being given the resource and the time and the authority to actually affect a change.
And the expectations.
Yes. So I suppose a good marketing agency or a good marketing manager is one that's able to consistently get that commitment from their clients. So I would say it's 50-50, split down the middle. I didn't get the authority. I didn't get the time to do what needed to be done.
Or probably we did a lousy job.
We never did a lousy job. We never intentionally did a lousy job. But I think,
you know what's the problem? Sorry to interrupt you. The problem is basically because of all of the things that you encounter, right? Like budget, timing, and so on. It was difficult to prove what are actually your capabilities. And that's something that I'm seeing in agency. And I've been talking with different people that they still have agencies and they work as a freelancers. You need in this space to be really lucky to find someone that is actually giving you first of all, the expectation needs to be aligned. And second of all, you need to have the right resources. But at the moment that someone is actually working with an agency, the resources are not there, right? And we are not talking, of course, there is the other scope of the planet, which is basically big agency and big companies, but that's another story, right?
yes.
Most of the time for people and me and you, we're talking about small agencies, small companies or startups or SMEs, that every single cent counts, right? And it's still the case here in this company, right? The one that I'm working, but the difference is that I found probably a mentality that, okay, let's try an experiment. Let's try new things. Okay, I hired you because basically you know what you're doing better than me. And I said, okay, I'm not going to prove next week. I'm going to prove in the next 3 months. And the results started to came, right?
Yes.
Because it's a learning curve also, right? That's another problem with the agency, because it's a learning curve. Because at the moment that you're working as an agency or a contractor for another company, people, they expect you to learn really fast the inside and outsides of the business, which is absolutely impossible. It literally took me like to understand how these car mats are working and how the accessories working and how the Malaysia market is working and how Singapore is working and how Indonesia is working and the insides of the industry. It literally took me like 3-4 months to learn.
Yes. And the thing is, if you're only offering 3-4 days a month, like I was, then then it's going to take, that's 10% of the month. It's going to take 10 times as long. It's going to take 30 months maybe to actually learn the business. Yeah, I think it's really interesting. And, I think it's kind of crazy. I don't know how I managed it or how I didn't manage it or how any agency manages it. It's like, to affect a real change. Okay, so there's a difference between, like, clearly your business understands the value of marketing and the necessity to invest in the marketing, So I think you were lucky to find that situation, because my experience is that lots of businesses don't.
Yeah, true.
So that's why I would say lucky. I still believe in the dream. Okay, when I used to teach digital marketing often, I would tell people this is like driving a car. So literally, you know, you need more traffic to your website. These are the levers that you pull to get more traffic. You need more conversions on your website. These are the levers that you pull to you know, get more conversions. You need to increase your profitability, or you need to develop new products. You know, I still want to believe in that dream of like the perfect digital marketing, driving it like a car experience for a business. I have to tell you, I'm pretty jaded, and I'm wondering if it is actually even possible anymore.
I definitely believe that is possible, because, for example, it's often that I'm talking with different people that they have different companies even now, and I'm stunned from a perspective of how things that for me, they sound like common sense. And to give you one example, a website that doesn't have a Facebook pixel and they're running Facebook ads. And I'm like, why in the million years would you do that, right? Because you cannot create an audience and you cannot do remarketing. And we're like, I didn't know. Or, for example, I don't know, the Google Analytics is not set up correctly. You know, like, so there are a certain level of decency that companies are still missing today, right? And for me, it's stunning, because, for example, exactly how you said, you want to put a, you know, you want to put it like a, how you call it? What you want to, what you are pulling?
A lever.
Lever, that's the one, that's the word, right? So if you're putting a lever on Facebook, on let's say ads, right, and paid ads, at the moment that you don't have, for example, a pixel installed, or Google Analytics, or the Google remarketing code on your website, how can you do that, right? So businesses in general, they have problems, and they have problems because they are not hiring the right people, and they have problems because managers, they think that they know everything regarding marketing. And for me, it's still funny how I'm talking, and I used to talk also with different business owners, and they were like, okay, I'm going to hire you because you want to run, I don't know, Facebook ads. And they started to come after that, I don't know, like a certain period of time, and they were, I think that we should run it this way. And I was like, why the fuck did you hire me to do this? You know, because you basically put your money and the resources into someone that actually knows better than you. And that's another problem of the business nowadays.
Yes. Well, I think part of the challenge with that, well done for keeping talking all the time I was changing the camera. I think the problem with that is that it's too technical. You know, it's actually, you need someone who's a full-time specialist in those things. I would have no idea now how to get a pixel working. You know, I would have very little idea how, you know, and these things fail. That's kind of what I want to say, is that, you know, it might be working today. And this is what I used to say to people when I was running my agency, is like, you know, sometimes the technology works and we make some money. Very often it doesn't, and we don't make some money. So it's not even like it's reliable. Do you know what I mean? It's not even like it's, what's the word? Even predictable or forecastable. It's like, it changes all the time, you know? So, I mean, that's my issue with it. I mean, the very nature of social media has changed. Like, I remember in 2007, 2008, 2009, I was telling people, go wild. You don't need to pay for media in your business anymore because you have social media. So basically, you get complete control of your creative, complete control of your audience, complete control of all of this stuff. But then, I don't know, around 2014, 2015, it stopped being social and it started being an entirely paid thing. At which point, it was probably much more necessary that people were tracking things properly, but they weren't necessarily. I don't know, man. I've got an issue with that. I'll tell you what my issue is when you've answered that question, if there was a question in there.
Yeah, there was.
What's the question? Can you keep up? Can anyone keep up with the technology?
Yeah, until a certain level. But the reason why is evolving because there is a lot of okay. So first of all, we're talking about the noise. You know, there is so much noise out there. You know, like if you're talking about Facebook, for example, on the Facebook feed, how much noise there is. If we're taking the entire social media in industry, right? There is so much noise. There is a new network coming and saying that, okay, we think that we solved the problem. And there is a new one, and which one probably by the end of the year, probably like 10 of them are going to fail and another 10 or another 20 are going to come up, right? So it's really difficult to keep up. I think that you can keep up until a certain level, but there is a level of complexity, you know, like because people or consumers and customers were getting smarter and smarter, and we're ignoring all of these mediums, right? What used to work like 5 years, exactly what you said, you know, like everybody, if you're a company and you're putting like a Facebook post, probably the reach was like what, 20-30%. Now it's less than 5% because Facebook is basically a money machine and they want money, right? Which is normal every
and yeah,
right?
they all want money, yes.
If they want money, I mean, like in the end of the day, you need to survive at the moment, and there is no such thing. I don't believe in viral.
Worried about those people at Facebook and Google who need to survive. We should definitely be worried about them.
I'm talking about businesses that we need to survive, like businesses, like not Facebook, like Google. I'm talking about each in like normal business. I don't know how to call it, like my business or your business or any other business, right? Yes. And they need to survive because they need to follow the game and they need to invest money. I don't believe in organic so much, you know, like in the term of organic, because what's organic in the end of the day? You're competing on the same keyword with 100,000 other people and 100,000 other businesses. Okay, you're going to do it probably a little bit better, better than them, but in the end of the day, competition is really getting stronger and stronger, right? And the fact that why it, and it's getting also, marketing is getting more complex. I mean, sometimes I'm really tired because I'm thinking like, oh my God, there is a new technology coming in, or there is a new term, or since I joined the company, I think I installed the Facebook. It's a stupid thing, right? But I think since I joined the company, I installed the Pixel at least 5 times different on the website, on that website that we have. Yeah. Why? Because there is a new way to install the Pixel. There is a new code. There is a new way to count the conversions and to go a little bit more deeper and to go more granular.
So is it better then, is my question, is for all of this development, because I didn't see that when I was on the tools every day. I didn't see that things were getting better. In fact, I would have to say that I think, and I can't really say this, but I'm definitely going to just say it anyway. I think Facebook advertising, Twitter advertising, or Facebook marketing, Twitter marketing, and all of those platforms, Google advertising has become less effective in the last 7-8 years when they started when they started deciding what it is that people should be looking at. I think it became much less effective. I don't think it's as engaging. I don't think as many people are there as used to be. I think that will depend on where in the world you are. But I don't think development is actually producing something that is better. I don't think they're delivering better marketing solutions for businesses, and I don't think they're creating better social environments for users. And I think those things, two things combined, I honestly think that it might be over for social media, because
I don't believe that.
We're engaging in it in the same way that they were.
I believe that is getting more complex and is getting more expensive to do paid advertising and to be successful on the social network. I don't think that social networks are going to die, because look around you and you're going to see that literally everyone is on Facebook or on Instagram or on TikTok or on...
I'm definitely not seeing that anymore. I'm not seeing...
You probably, because you're living in Bali, of course.
Well, well, I don't think it's because I'm living in Bali, because when you and I first got to Bali 5 years ago, everybody was on Facebook. So it's not a Bali thing. Like, people do Instagram a bit, people do, but I don't believe at all that people are engaging with those social platforms the way they were 5, 6 years ago. All right, then I'm going to speak to somebody about this. I haven't found anyone who will have a conversation with me. Have you seen The Social Dilemma? Is it called The Social Dilemma?
The Social Dilemma is...
Yes.
I mean, like you and me, you probably know things, but probably it was really brilliant from a perspective of, you know, like it was putting a word where your thoughts were, you know, like you didn't actually verbalize what these guys are doing, all of this social media companies are doing. For me, it was really brilliant, the guy from Pinterest that was saying, you know, like I'm building these tools and I know that I'm building them for people to continually to use it more and more, and I'm basically falling in exactly the same trap. Man, realistically, there is no social in media at the moment. Okay, for example, for me, it's only purely media. And why I'm saying this, because all of the social media companies that are basically money-making machine, and it's less social engaging between me and you on social media, or between me and my friends. At the moment that I'm staying on my Facebook or on my Instagram, I'm basically seeing probably like 10 times more or 20 times more ads than I used to see like 1 year ago, right? I cannot watch a video until the end because I'm having like a YouTube ads coming in, or a Facebook ad.
So this is my point, is I think that whole thing is a load of bullshit. I think that, you know, there's actual lies in there where the professor from some university and comes on and says, this is a drug. It's not a drug. A drug is a material that you ingest that changes your metabolism or your whatever chemical reactions. Mm-hmm. Not a drug. At the same time, Lord knows how many hundreds of thousands of Americans and people around the world actually have substance abuse issues, which I would say is much more serious. I think that whole thing is designed to make us think that these social medias are much more clever than they actually are. So a friend of mine saw it and he's like, oh, it's so clever. They show you what you want to see and they advertise the things that you want to buy. Now, my life might be a bit complicated because I'm in and out of different accounts, obviously, with little bits of work I'm doing for clients or different projects that I'm involved in. But literally now, every time I see an advert on YouTube, because I won't give them $10 a month, every time I see an advert on YouTube, I message them. I'm like, look how clever YouTube are. They are now marketing industrial floor cleaners, which are made in China, to me. You know, so I don't think these platforms are anything like as clever as they think they are. And I think similar to the tobacco industry, they would be very pleased to be categorized as addictive, because that's what you want as a marketer. You want you want customers addicted to your product, so they can't stop using it, or they can't stop buying it, or they can't stop smoking it. Do you know what I mean? So I think there's something really, really transparently wrong with that, and that the whole world is so easily convinced of that just seems to me to be the more frightening thing about it. Like, clearly people shouldn't be spending so much time on their phones or their product.
Oh, definitely.
In the thing. And actually getting the message out to people and convincing people that they're addicted to those services, I think serves that purpose for them. They're nothing like as clever as they like to think they are. There certainly aren't 3 people behind every single user making decisions to try and keep that person more hooked on those products. Absolutely, they employ teams and teams, thousands of people to make them more engaging, to make them more enticing, to make them more time consuming. But that program is nothing like the truth, I don't think.
I agree in a way to disagree with you from a perspective that I really believe that social media, I mean, like, coming from a person that is working in digital marketing and is spending like most of their time in the social media platform and finding new ways to acquire customers. I really believe that there is a drag from one simple perspective, because go and look on, for example, on your phone in your well-being and see how much time you're spending on apps. And you're going to be shocked that probably you're saying that, oh, I didn't actually spend so much time on Facebook or YouTube. But even if you're spending time on YouTube that you think that you want to educate yourself, it's still a social media platform, right? So, and there is another thing, it's actually addictive. Because, for example, for me, and I'm still falling sometimes in the game, is that when I'm doing my research, it's kind of like a rabbit hole, you know, like, and I'm going to a subject and another subject and another subject, and by the end of the day, I basically have like 10 tabs open.
Yes.
Right?
So I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree with anything that you're saying. I think that's what I think is a distraction. And I did like a year ago, more than a year ago, 18 months ago, I decided I didn't want Facebook on my phone anymore. I have Instagram on my phone. I haven't engaged with Twitter for years. I don't really engage with Facebook at all anymore. I wish people a happy birthday. This situation with the virus actually forced more people on, because we had a group which was like a stay in Bali group about visa. There's another group which is about what's the situation in Bali or locally or anywhere in the world, I suppose. So this kind of drove people back onto those platforms. But I just don't think that you're spending money advertising with these people. So this was the premise of this program, is that you basically are the product that they are selling to businesses, advertisers. Yeah. So do you feel that as an advertiser? Do you feel like basically you can acquire customers at will from Facebook or Instagram or any of these places?
Sir, I really didn't get your question.
So
follow up.
I was saying basically a user of a social media is the product that Facebook sell to advertisers.
Yeah, definitely is the product. Yeah, I mean, like the user for me is the product. You know, like in marketing, we used to say something, you know, like if you're buying a drilling machine, right? Yeah. You're not buying the drilling machine, you're buying basically the hole.
Yes.
Right? I care about the user. For me, it's a number, you know, like I don't care if it's a male, female, I care about that successful sale, that one, right? Yeah.
So the question then is, how effectively are they doing that? So literally, you must know, or I don't know, but you should be able to say, if I acquire a customer from Facebook, it costs me X dollars and cents.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
And so what is the return on that investment as like a percentage?
Okay, so traditionally speaking, if I'm speaking for the ROS, for example, for us is around anything between 5 and 8, depends of the campaign, which I think that 5 and 10x. So for every one ring,
between 5 times and 10 times.
Yes. So for every one ringgit that we put in, or every USD dollar that we put in, we basically get $5 out or $10 out, depends of the campaign. But I think that, and of course it's up and down and it's changing. But realistically, I mean, like we actually know the entire funnel, and you confuse me a little bit.
Okay, so what the question I want to have is, like, so your cost of customer acquisition, if you're getting somewhere between 5 and 10 times what you spend, is somewhere between 10 and 20%.
Yeah.
Which is perfect. You know, that is absolutely perfect. So how reliable is that? If someone were to give you $1 million yesterday, could you turn that $1 million into $5 million or $10 million?
No, because it's not working like that, because it's a couple of factors, right? So if these guys are going to come to me and they're going to say, hey, I'm going to give you $1 million because basically what you're doing with like $100,000 is bringing me X amount of money, like 5 times more money. I would say no, it's not like that, not in a short run. From one simple perspective, because Facebook is not working like that. So you basically need to scale up gradually in order to basically to improve, to get that number. Because at the moment that you're, like you're giving like a big push of money that you in the platform, the entire algorithm of Facebook is going to like screw up, and they're going to be like, okay, we basically don't have the pixel, we don't have your audience for that amount of money. So what you're going to see is that the CPP, is the cost per purchase, is going to skyrocket. So from, let's say, $5, you're going to end up to $30, but the money, the ROS is not going to be actually there. It's probably going from 5 or 10 is going to go to 1 or 2. You see, do you follow where I'm going?
I do follow where you're going, but then surely if this social dilemma thing is true, accurate, so I'm saying they're not doing a good job for their users, and people probably aren't as addicted as they might like to think, certainly not addicted like the way they would be if they were ingesting drugs. And you're saying that actually as a business, because they've got 2 billion users supposedly. So if,
yeah, but not all of your 2 billion users are actually going to your customer. I mean, like, it's going to be amazing if you consider that 2 billion users, but not all of these users. It depends of the demographic, it depends of the gender. Think about coming back to who actually are your customers. Not 2 billion users are going, okay, let's take out a billion. Let's talk about purely Malaysia, or let's talk about purely Indonesia. Not all of the people, they have a car, and I'm slicing down the pie, right? Not all of the people that are in the right age group. Not all of the people, most of my customers are male, right? And we're talking about the size of the basket, right? When it's much easier to sell something that, or that's my opinion, right? At least in the industry, it's much easier to sell something that costs $5 rather than something that costs $50. Like you need to be in the right mood to actually to spend that money for a product.
This is exactly the point. So what the social dilemma is telling us is that they are creating the mood. So there are 270 million people in Indonesia. Your demographic, if it's 10% of the population, males aged between such an age and such an age, interested in cars, living at home with their parents, whatever it might be, if that's 10% of the population, you've got 27 million people to choose from. And what the social dilemma is saying is that actually those social media platforms are setting the mood. They are generating the need or the desire in those customers. So in a way, you've kind of answered my question, which is they're not actually doing that. They're not making anyone buy anything that they weren't going to buy before. Essentially, Facebook advertising is a form of very effective display advertising. They can land the right message on the right people at the right time. Their targeting is much cleverer than anything that's been available before, but they can't do what Google does, which is put your product and service in front of the people at the very time that they are most interested in that thing. Does that make sense?
I mean, like, you're following probably the footsteps of Neil Patel. Neil Patel was saying actually the same thing, right? Because basically, at the moment that you're actually going on Google, you're basically searching for, you have a need, right? You have an urge to do, you have an action, right? And the action is like, let's say I'm searching for car mat. I'm basically searching for car mat because I have a car, or I intend to buy a car mat, or I'm doing a research. On Facebook, basically what's happening, it's a social media platform, right? So I'm basically spending time because I'm looking on that feed and I'm watching a video and I'm giving a like, and suddenly is coming an ad, right? Yes. So probably what I'm seeing is that the conversion is taking a little bit longer, but where comes the complexity of the business.
And you're generating the need or the desire in that person. That's exactly what's
I'm planting the seed.
You're planting the seed, yeah. So you're building that desire is what you're doing, because social media is only media. You know, it's not where people go if they want to buy stuff. So if I want to buy tennis shoes Tuesday in Denpasar, I'm not going to put that into Facebook. I'm going to put that into Google. So Google is clearly has to be, by principle, has to be the most effective digital marketing platform, because this is where people go to buy things. So this is.
I'm saying that it needs to be a combination of all of them. If you want to be successful, I don't think that you need to put all of your money in one basket. Absolutely. Because that's actually, because if you're going to see, I can give you actually what's happening in our business. So basically at the moment that even if you're going to be you're going to stay on social media, on Facebook, let's say, and you're going to see that video, at the moment that you're going to click, I have your pixel, I have your cookie, right? And you're probably going to arrive to a website, you're probably going to arrive to Google, and you're probably going to see my ad. So I'm basically, you're probably going to read the website and you're going to have that AdSense, or that Facebook in video or in article, right? So what I'm trying to say here is that I don't care if Facebook or social media is actually creating an action. What is probably going to be successful, it's combining all of these networks.
Yes. And I think that's absolutely true, but like I say, it is media. It does the thing that media always did. So in TV advertising, you'd be watching a program about diggers and there'd be a digger advert in the break. Or you'd be reading the Financial Times and you'd be reading about working in the changes in the markets, and there would be some kind of investment advertising in the ads. Now, clearly social media does that in a much more targeted way, but I think this is more dependent on the advertiser than it is on the platform, because I can't go to Facebook and say, I want to sell shoes. And Facebook just go, there you go, sell some shoes. You know, we know exactly the people who are interested in shoes, blah, 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 blah. You still have to do the work to build the audience. You still have to implement the pixel. You still have to do more targeting. You still have to build the database. You still have to educate and motivate those people. So I think you've solidified my position on the social dilemma, which is that it's not particularly addictive, I don't think, to users. And I don't think it's particularly effective as effective as they like to portray in that video for businesses. It's not like they are selling our souls to businesses to buy stuff that we don't want to buy.
Man, it's a certain level of understanding the business also, because I can give you an example. I was actually targeted by a company that was giving, it was a company that was selling pills for women at menopause. And I'm like, what an actual fuck. I mean, like, do your research, at least put male there.
Happens all the time. Like if I'm
it happens all the time.
The newspapers, they're trying to sell me nail polish. So
but that's a problem. Yeah, but that's a problem with newspaper. Is basically the newspaper is like I cannot do targeting, right?
Now, of course, website on a news website, on the football pages of, they absolutely can, and they're not. So it just makes my point again. They are nothing like that. That's the advertiser's fault. Like they should have unticked the box that said football pages. But also that kind of to me, demonstrates the capability of these platforms. They're nothing like as effective. They're nothing like as clever as they want us to be. And this social dilemma thing is just basically propaganda to try and convince people that these things are addictive so that they are less resistant to them. Maybe. I don't know what that is.
I don't know
what that is. But I don't think it's making it better. I think people have to be so specialized that they don't get to understand the principles of marketing before they start. And if you're not applying the principles of marketing to all of these, they're just opportunities. If you're not understanding that actually Facebook is a form of display advertising, it is incidental to the content. That's all it is. It's going to get very, very little attention. It's going to get you very, very little response. And you are essentially, if you're using those platforms, you are in an education process. You are trying to motivate people to buy from you. Whereas the people who go to Google, that's a response platform. People who go to YouTube, to Google, are looking for a product or service, or they have a very definite interest in those things. Man, I've changed these cameras like 5 times. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
I'm back.
It's fine.
Just like that, I'm back.
Yeah,
I have somewhere that I need to be. This
perfect.
is really interesting and useful. I feel like we've done about a third of what we should have done.
Yeah, that's usually our case when we started to talk about something, right?
Okay, so let's make a plan to get the other 2/3 done. Maybe we'll do this another 2 times.
Yeah, sure.
But I'm really interested. Sorry, was I ranting too much?
I think your ranting is perfect. And I'm going to say this in front of the camera. Behind, I'm going to say something else. No, realistically, it was a pleasure, Martin, to talk with you. Like always. I think that what you're doing from a perspective of these videos is to gather people to, not necessarily because in general, this vlogging and blogging and videos everybody's talking about technical aspect. What I think that is really cool from at least my understanding is that you're bringing a level of own personality. Okay, this is his experience or her experience, and that's how that person is seeing marketing. So I think that you're on the right track.
I hope so. I mean, the mission that I'm on is to let people know in their businesses that this is nothing like as complicated as people would have you believe. And it is much more achievable than people would have you believe. And you have to do it if you want to be successful in your business. There is no other way to be successful in your business than to be extraordinarily effective and successful in your sales. That's the thing.
Yeah.
And it seems to me that these platforms that we're talking about are doing their customers a disservice by making it much more complicated than it needs to be. And that is.
But the problem is that it's easy but complex in the same time, and the mistake that entrepreneurs or businesses are doing is that they're hiring really shitty marketers, that they believe that they did a course online and they believe that they are really good in marketing.
Yeah,
right.
Look, I'm going to send you the link to the other chats that I've had. Look at the one that I did with Ed. The sound is appalling, unfortunately, but that's exactly what we're talking about. It's like there is an issue in marketing. It's partly the client's issue. It's partly the agency's issue. It's partly the internal marketer's issue, but it's preventing people from being successful. That's the mission that I'm on. I want to find out, I want to motivate people, let them know this is much more achievable and much more necessary perhaps than they know, and they shouldn't be taking shit. They should be focused on this if they want to be successful. The camera's going to go any second, man. Let me go. I love you, man. I love this conversation. I think there's conversations in this at least. Probably in the next,
especially in the full pandemic, because I'm going to end with this one. My God, you started the subject again. So we are living in a pandemic, or if you believe or not in the pandemic, that's another story. I don't want to go on this subject, but I believe that we are living in a crisis now. And the first budget that you usually is cut in a crisis is the marketing budget. And I had a conversation with the managers, and they were like, okay, Ionut, are we going to be on an offense or defense? And I was like, I think that we need to be on both. You need to be cautious on the money that you're spending on marketing, but the companies that are actually going to succeed and they're going to live after this pandemic and after this crisis are the ones that are actually investing in marketing and planting a seed in the consumers and thinking about brand awareness. That's my personal, and I'm done.
Okay, well, just to respond to that, I did a talk in 2009 after there were like 70 business people there. And it was after the last recession. And basically, in the UK, they were doing this keep calm and carry on thing. And I kind of bastardized that. And I said, look, the message should be get excited and kick ass. People are going out of business. Their customers will be looking for new suppliers. You know, more millionaires are created in a recession than at any other time.
Definitely.
Now, absolutely is the time to be investing in your sales and your marketing because everyone else is asleep at the wheel. You know, so that was my advice. You tell them, we go on the offensive. Now, if there's anything genuine in any of these platforms where we're supposedly bidding for rankings, we're bidding for clicks, if there's anything genuine in that, all of the costs of those should be going down now because less people are doing it. Because like you say, people think they should stop investing in marketing during a recession. I love you, man. We're going to do this again soon. We can decide what we talk about.
Absolutely.
All right, let me go because I'm
definitely
like a minute ago.
Okay, awesome. It was a pleasure. Peace.
Cheers, man. Bye.
Cheers.